I would like to also start introducing the next speaker. The next speaker is Giovanni Reina, also ex-IRIDIA, but now back to IRIDIA, actually. So he did the tour in Sheffield and back to IRIDIA. And his talk is about inflexible minorities, prevent group consensus, and cross-inhibition restores agreement. So it will be a slightly more theoretical work, but still within the SWARM track.
So, hello everyone, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to present my research at this event, and thanks to the organizer for putting in place the event. So yes, as Eliseo said, I am now at the Université libre de Bruxelles at IRIDIA, and this work started at the University of Sheffield, where I conducted the robots experiment. And this work is together with Raina Zakir, that hopefully she will join soon the ULB in Brussels. And this work is about collective decision-making and how a group of individuals reaches a consensus through local interaction and without any centralized authority has been of interest in a large variety of disciplines. And one of the most diffuse or used model of collective decision-making is the voter. And this got a large success in various disciplines because it is a very simple model that allows tractability of the solution, and it's possible to analyze symbolic in various contexts. So has been used in a large variety of systems, ranging from the description of human society, like in economics, in politics, or the behavior of a group of animals or social insects, cells, plants, or even to engineer robots. And here we can see a little schematic on the left of the voter model, in which there are, for example, in this case, two options, and the agent, the individual, can be committed to the option X or the option Y with two colors. And when it receives a vote, the vote is represented by the small circle on top of the arrow. It will change state. If it's the same opinion, will not change state, but if it's a different opinion, for example, the X agent receive a vote for Y, there is a direct switch for, and this represents a change of opinion. However, the voter model is very fragile. In fact, including even in small quantity, a very small amount of noise or zealot behavior, the group remains in an undecided state and cannot reach an agreement. For noise, I indicate this spontaneous switch between opinion, between the state X and the state Y. And this can come from some independent source of information that is not social information from other peers, or can be due to malfunctioning of the individuals or some noise in the communication. Anyway, we represented it in a general form as a form of noise that doesn't represent social interaction. And the other form of a social behavior that I analyze is the zealot, also called stubborn in the literature. And I study the situation in which there are these individuals that do not respond to social pressure. So whichever vote they receive, they remain with the same identical opinion. And if you include an equal number of zealot for option X and of option Y, this is mathematically equivalent to having noise. This has been demonstrated and proved by Khalil and colleagues in 2018. And so we will study one of the system, but as I say, is mathematically equivalent to consider this noise as a social behavior or symmetric number or equal sizes number of zealot population within a group of decision makers. So we can see how the voter model behaves if we include the noise. And what we see here are the results of the master equation that describe the voter model dynamics. And the horizontal axis, we increase the level of noise. And on the vertical axis, we have the proportion of individuals in population with opinion X minus opinion Y. So at the extreme of 1 and -1, we have a consensus or a large majority for one of the two options. And in the middle at 0, there is the group divided in two equal size subpopulation with two contrasting opinions. We can kind of see this type of dynamics that it can be easier to be seen in this other plot in which we show the solution of the master equation at convergence. And we see that for very small level of noise, we have this B-stability, this two peak for large consensus for one or the other option. And by increasing noise, we see that the bell forms in the middle. So the population goes to an undecided state. So we might assume that for small level of noise, the system is actually still able to reach a decision. However, if we look at a representative dynamics, we see that it is true that the system for most of the time remains with large majority for the blue or red option. However, to me, it doesn't look very decisive, the system. It keeps switching opinion and fluctuates a lot. And if we increase the noise, of course, the system remains in an undecided state. So these show that just by including a very small quantity of noise, the voter model, let's say, collapse, is unable to reach, the population is unable to reach an agreement. And this is even worse because in this other plot, because we see that if we fix the noise and we stay for a small swarm size that is varied on the horizontal axis, for example, 50 individuals, the system has this B-stable situation. But as soon as we increase the swarm size, the system again goes in an undecided state. And the situation is even worse if we include zealot, because as I say, mathematically are equivalent, but including zealot, it requires jumping a bit longer. I mean, the quantity of noise is much more than what I represented here in the left plot. So you move really quicker to high level of noise or a high level of disturbance. And increasing the zealot, we see that the system remains locked at 0 level. The green line show the results of the differential equation, so a system without noise, and the red shades show the results for the master equation that includes finite size effects. However, there is a solution. The topic of this talk is to tell you that there is a model of comparable simplicity that by replacing the direct switch with the inhibition action can help the situation. In fact, there is this model that is inspired by the social behavior in honeybees that describe, again, a collective decision in which an individual that receive a vote from a different option, for example, when the X individual receive a blue vote, will be inhibited and go to a no opinion state. And in this uncommitted state, you can be recruited for either option. So we will study the resiliency of these models. So we have seen what happened for the voter model, and these are the results for the cross-inhibition model. The cross-inhibition model, even in presence of quite a large proportion of a social behavior of zealot in this case, is able to have a B-stability. So a two-stable state on close to 1 and -1 that represent a convergence, a consensus, an agreement for either of the two options. And in the between, there is this unstable state, and then the things join in this pitchfork bifurcation. For high level of noise, there is no consensus also in this case. So we tested this, and we thought was very interesting results on a swarm robotics experiment. And for our test, we used the kilobot robot. That is a simple robot that moves through vibration on a flat surface. It's designed at Harvard. And this robot can exchange infrared messages with one another in a small range of 10 centimeters and display their opinion as a color with their LED. So we made an 100 robot experiment in which we had 80 collaborative robots running the models that I described before, either the cross-inhibition or the water model, and we included 20 zealot robots. These robots do not change their opinion. And as I say, they are in equal size, 10 for option red and 10 for option blue. The green one are the uncommitted one in this screenshot on the right. And we can see that the voter model, as predicted, is unable to reach a decision, remains locked in indecision. Instead, the cross-inhibition quickly reach a decision for one of the two options and maintains it. While the voter model sometimes reach a large majority for one of the two options, this is really a momentary event, and soon the things shuffle back down. Instead, in the other case, in this 60-minute experiment, the dynamics remains quite stable and robust. But how weak is the voter model? So we made a further experiment in which we included only 4 zealot robots in 96 collaborative robots. And we can see that the voter model still behaves a bit better. There are longer time framing of large agreement, but still the dynamics fluctuates a lot, and there is not a stable agreement. Just as a reference, here is the case of the cross-inhibition with 20 zealot, and you can see how stable are the dynamics. This model is also interesting to solve the best of n problem that is widely investigated in swarm robotics. And it's interesting for swarm robotics is because this problem study the situation in which each option is characterized by a quality. And the goal of the swarm is to select the option with the highest quality. For example, the best location where to carry out a mission or dig a hole or build a structure. And in swarm robotics, this has been, the solution has been inspired by social insect, most of the solution to this problem. And the standard approach is inspired by how honeybees select their nest site. That what has been observed is that individuals vote at a rate proportional to the quality of the option they are voting for. And by having this voting proportional to the quality, the result is that the group will converge to the highest quality option available in the environment. So this is a simple strategy of individual behavior that lead to this collective consensus for the best available option. So we tested with a theoretical analysis the two models also in this situation of the best of n problem, in which the two alternatives have different quality. Here the ratio is very close to 1, so they are very similar to each other. And we can see that the voter model is able for very small level of a social behavior to break the symmetry and select the best option. However, very quickly return to this undecided state as soon as the number of zealots increase. Instead of the cross-inhibition, display an unfolded pitchfork bifurcation in which we have these two branches, again representing the decision for either option. And we can see that even if there is a higher probability to reach the higher branch, there is still some of the results show that there can still be a consensus on the lower branch. That means the lower quality option. So this is a bit the price of the stability that we have seen before. The cross-inhibition is able to reach a decision and maintains it, but in this case we see that it will maintain it also if it's a lower quality option. If we increase the ratio between the two options, the situation improves for both models. The voter model is shifted a bit higher towards a consensus for the best option. But in general, the results for the cross-inhibition are qualitatively better than quantitatively better than this case of the water model. We can see smaller fluctuation, the shades are less diffused, so more stability. But still, sometimes we can have a convergence for the lower quality. So I conclude here saying that today I show you a very simple mechanism of comparable simplicity to the voter model, because all the analysis that I've shown has been, we managed to find symbolic solution of the bifurcation and of the master equation. So it can be analyzed as well as the voter model, but differently from the voter model, is resilient to asocial behavior. And this asocial behavior can be unintentional, that can be to fault, to noisy sensor, or malicious, can be a cyber attack in which zealot try to compromise the collective decision. And in general, what does this cross-inhibition mechanism, substituting the direct switch, is to give stability that can be useful to break the symmetry in collective decision-making, and we have seen to solve the best of n problem in the centralized systems. That's everything. Thank you for your attention. And I'm happy to have comments, questions, because we are still in the process of writing up this work. So every suggestion or comment will be really useful and possibly included in the final manuscript that we are trying to finalize. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Very, very nice presentation. So yeah, we have 1 minute for question actually, and there is one by Cristino, and I will read it loud. In the best of n problems, how does an individual measure the quality of a decision? Are there differences in the quality analysis from individuals, or they are all analyzing equally? So are there differences in the way the quality can be assessed, if I understand better the question, in the current work or in general? I guess you can answer.
Yeah, I will speak in general because here we didn't carry out swarm robotics experiment for this case, but I worked for many years in collective decision making. And if usually we assume that the individual are able to make estimates of the quality. So each individual will explore the environment and find possible alternative options and acquire the estimate of the quality. Of course, the estimate is not precise. We assume that there is noise. If every individual is able to make a noise-free estimation, in my opinion, probably there is no need to communicate, agree, and do all this. Everyone will already estimate what's the best, and non-communication is not necessary. But the problems arise when each one makes individual errors. And we don't want that one individual error spread in the population, or that this group remain undecided when the estimates are really similar between two options. So in that case, when there is noise, it's useful to have these strategies of social interaction. I hope I answered the question.
I guess so, but I also see a number of very interesting questions in the chat. I would like to propose, for the interest of time, to please start discussing offline. So do exploit the chat to provide answers. So there is this possibility, as far as I know, in Zoom. And I would like to really thank the speaker for this very interesting presentation. Thank you very much.